So I just want to go through a quick trade that we've got on at the moment. A couple of trades actually with the DAX. There's a short trade here and there's a Dow trade here as well. So just quite quickly while we jump in, I'm trying to run this live just ahead of tonight's webinar. Okay, so taking that trade here, I'm going to put my stop in here now. So we had our short trade there at 39.024. I'm going to put my stop in there at 95 now and tighten it up, and we'll manage it on that basis. Okay. Similarly, don't really do two trades at the same time, but if it was, there'd be the entry point would be there at 17975. It's already fallen quite a lot, so actually, you're going to be looking to lock in some profit there as well. So I'm going to put my stop down to here. It's about 11 points away, just above the high from this 52 candlestick there. So let's see how those trades pan out. So I'm just going to make a quick note of those, and then we'll come back to those trades as they hopefully continue to fall. But the goal when you're in a trade, everybody, is to reduce that live risk. Okay, so I put my stop in. So the DAX, I'll just make a note of when we're moving it down. Okay, so 962, and then also for the Dow above here will be 995. Okay, the thing about a trade is the longer you're in it, the emotions become more and more of a thing, right? So it's all about how you manage the live risk. So as the market continues to fall, actually, your entry point, you don't have to worry about this bit of profit. So there's our entry at 24. So we're locking in at, say, 95. That means we've already made a 30-point move. Okay, so the great thing about that is that, you're not worried about this coming back up here. So you don't have to worry that bit of money that's on the account, if you like. Okay, so I'm going to keep those stops in. Actually, I'm going to move this one down here. So on the DAX, I'm going to move it to 56, so 956. As the market has another wave lower, I'm just going to lock it in a little bit. So there was the entry, okay, at 75, 975, and we're locking it into 55. So that's a 20-point profit, okay. So 975 for the entry. Let me write that down. And then here, so the entry on this trade on the close of that bar, so 39.022. So let's just watch this now. Starting to sort of, again, have another little move. Higher low at this point. So that's not quite so positive. You want to see the market continuing to break a little bit lower. Okay, let me just zoom in a touch. Just remind us where those stops are at 56s. Yep. And also, we're going to keep it there at 95s. If we can go to a new low now, I'm going to probably move the stop down to this sort of 72 level. So we'll start to move at a touch down. But I want to see this market move to a new low. Just for reference, like I said, I wouldn't normally be managing two trades at the same time, largely because it kind of, can do your head in a little bit. You just want to do one at the same time and have a strong degree of correlation really in there. The other thing is you don't want to be really setting a target, because if you set a target, what's going to happen is it's going to cap the potential for profit on an individual trade. So you don't really want to be doing that. So this market does fall 100 points and has a massive reward to risk. You don't really want to be capping that. So this particular trade, long from short from 975, there's the initial stop loss of about 16 points. Okay, we've already locked in 20. We've already locked in over better than 1-to-1 profit. Already locked in for profit. Let's allow the trade to fall a little bit. Okay. It may not do. We might get knocked out of the trade here, but there's my cursor there at 96s. That's where my stop is. So if you move up a little bit, Dow's breaking down. Okay, so that's great to see. That's moving down to new lows. I'm going to move my stop down on the Dow to just above this high. So we're going to put that to 970. Okay, so from an original entry at 22s down to 970 there. Okay, so we're now locking in about 52 points. Let's continue to keep the stop here at 56 on the DAX. It's not looking quite so clever, this one. Hopefully it's going to be pulled down by that Dow, bring it down as well. But it doesn't matter because my live risk is only from here to here, so I can be quite relaxed about it because actually I've locked in a profit. I don't want to be panicking about the profit that I've got on this trade because my stop is locking that in. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so we're out at 56. Okay, so in that particular case, that was a 19-point profit, which a 19-point stop, wasn't it? So from 75 up to 91, a 16-point stop. So that's about a 1.8% profit. So typically we'd risk 1.3% of our account, 1.5% of account on a trade. We're going to keep that there at 970. Okay, and hopefully we can see this start to break down a little bit. But let's continue to monitor this. Okay, it's looking okay so far. There's the entry. Okay, why is that an entry there? Well, look, the indicators are red. We're in the sell zone. We're going to go through this in the webinar this evening, and you see how the price takes out the arrows there. The arrows were below us pointing up. The price goes through that arrow. Suddenly, on the close of this bar, the open of that bar, the arrow is going to flip. So our conditions for a short are back in play. Okay. Now look, that gives us the entry there. Now the initial stop are these arrows. Okay. Why there? It's a good place for it to be. Now, as a new trader, you can trail the stop down, but for me, that still keeps it quite wide, particularly as the market starts once it starts to move into your profit, you want to be moving into a profitable situation as early as possible. So if we take the entry there, once we start to break, that's the break bar there. From this bar here, that's when you want to start to be covering or moving that stop down a lot closer, because you don't want to be panicking about the trade. Ideally, locking in a pip or two profit. Okay, that's what you want to do. So your live risk would then be from there to there, not all the way up to here, which could be about a 3% move on your account. So you want to reduce that down. In monetary terms, that's going to make it much easier to run the trade, because if 3% to you is 300 quid, you're going to be panicking about it. But if actually you're only risking, say, 120 quid live now because you've locked down your stop, suddenly you're going to be in a much better place to manage it. So we're starting to break down a little bit. That's good. I'd love to see it go just a touch more. I don't want to stop too tight. Let's move it to there. Okay, just above this peak. Okay, so we're going to go to 50. So to 950 is where my stop's going to be now. And what we're doing, and when you look at a market, what you should see, if the market's going to continue to trend lower, you should continue to see lower highs. Okay, as the market continues to break. Okay, so we'll allow that to happen. What you don't want to do is get in the way of it by taking your profit, because if it does really pop, that's where a lot of potential profit can really come in. Okay, so if you think about that original trade at short at 22 or so, there's your stop there. You know, you want to allow it to release beyond that sort of level. I'm going to go to a smidge lower now as well. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Let's go to this bar. So I'm going to move my stop down. So there's the high of that bar is at 930. So let's move it to 932. Okay. See what we're doing. We're looking at the lower highs. We're looking at this. See how it goes, like lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. You don't want to chase it too tight. You know, a bar like this, it's going more sideways than it is down, but give it a chance to actually accelerate to the downside. And starting to move again. If we can start to see a decent sizable bar, then we're going to chase it. Now let's move back to the DAX for a second here. So whilst the DAX is in a position where we would have been better off staying short, I was really happy with my exit there, because if it had come flying back up again, then do you know what? I'd have given away a huge amount of profit. So yes, in order to allow this trade to continue to go down now, my stop would have had to have been a lot wider, which means had it have come flying back, I'd have ended up in a position where I wasn't making very much money. The goal of a trader is to come away with your trading session with a profit. So if you're in a profit of 1.8% or whatever, and you can lock that in, lock it in. Because if you can make 1.8% in a day, let's say there's 250 trading days in a year, that's best part of 500% in a year. It's a bit less than that, isn't it? But 400% in a year without any compounding. Let's go again. Okay, so look, really nice continuance here. These are the live prices at 854 now. Let's put my stop in now at 97. So it's going to be 897. Now, in terms of this particular trade, suddenly, remember we're short from 39022. I'm up 125 points now. But actually, I'm not stressed about it, because that's my live risk. My live risk is not from my live price to my entry point, because then I'm panicking about that amount of money. Yes, I'm up a lot of let's say, we're trading that at £10 a point. We'd be up, be worried about the money side, but we don't have to be, because all I'm worried about is the distance, the separation between my live price and my stop. Okay. So this bar is going to close in a couple of seconds. It's really starting to move a little bit now, isn't it? So at this point, my stop is covered. We're actually up a lot more than this. We're up about 175 points now, but my live stop there at 97, that is 125 points plus. That's locked in. So let's continue. If we can break a little bit to the new lows now, then I'll start to move again a little bit further down. Okay. At some point, this trade will snap back up. The question you want to ask yourself is, how much do you want to give that back, right? You know, how much of that profit do you want to give back, or are you happy to lock that in? Okay. Starting to move a little bit more sideways, but that's okay. So at this point, it's quite a bit more of a wider stop, wasn't it? So from 22s up to 16s, you know, you're looking at about a 95-point stop there on this particular trade. So actually, you know, locking in 125, we're up again about 1.8%. So it's about the equivalent of what we took on the DAX, believe it or not. Number of points is much smaller, much bigger on the Dow, but you know, in terms of the DAX, what you're looking at there is a much tighter stop, but also you know, but the percentages are what really counts here. Anyway, let's continue to monitor it. There's my stop where my cursor is there, 97s, okay? It's starting to find a little bit of support around here. Let's just maximize, don't need to see the DAX anymore. Let's maximize it out. Let's just contract it. Anything down here? So you can see like the free air all the way down from that sort of level there. Let's go back to it because it looks like we might get stopped out here. But I'm not going to panic about it. You know, any candlestick has a little spike. It's going to have these little things there. It's going to happen. And if we get stopped out, it's a good thing because it means we'll be making about 1.8%. I'll go through the exact numbers in a second. Okay, so remember my short from there. Okay, there's my stop at 97. You might think, oh, you're watching it all the way back. You need to allow it a bit of room to come back the other way, okay? Because in order for it to continue to go down, you have to allow a little bit of a correction, but you don't want to give it too much, okay? Really, we should be seeing this market breaking to the lows if it's going to carry on. And if it stops us out, fine, then we'll get on the next trade, okay? Looks like we might get knocked out here. Here we go. 95, what's the high there? 96s, 97s, okay, we're out. Okay, so, you know, that's fine. You know, it might dump from here, but I don't really mind because we've taken a decent profit out of it. What I don't want is the price to suddenly go flying all the way up here, and then all of a sudden, if it stopped me out on my trailing stop here from 88s, then all of a sudden we've only taken 30 odd points out of this market. But actually, by moving that trade down, I locked in 125. You know, and based on, what was it, a 96-point stop or so. So we generally recommend a risk of 1.5% of the account on each trade. So for example, if 95 equals 1.5, okay, so you go 1.5, divide that by 95, okay, it's 1.5% divided by 95 points, times it by the points we made on the trade, which is 125, and that gives us a profit of 1.97%. Okay, so let's do the same thing with the DAX. Okay, let's just go back to that DAX chart. Okay, so my short there at 75s, stop there at 91s, that's 16 points. So 1.5% risk equals 16 points. Okay, so what we're going to do is take 1.5, we're going to divide that by 16, and then we're going to multiply that by the 19 points we made on that trade, as it sadly knocked me out of the trade, and that's a 1.8%, nearest damn it really, 1.8% profit. So on those two trades there, again, I'd go with the caveat that you wouldn't necessarily, you know, manage two trades live at the same time, but, you know, let's assume that you're looking at, broadly speaking, 3.8% in aggregate from that. So if that's a £10,000 account, that's 380 quid. And how long do those trades take? You know, there was the entry. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. We got out after about 18 minutes on this particular opportunity. So there you go. Hopefully that gives you a good idea about what intraday trading is going to be all about. We're going to cover this more in today's live webinar. Okay, so we'll hopefully see you later.
Want to learn how to find profitable trades like this? Register for our free trading webinar and discover the strategies that turn you into a confident trader. Prefer a more hands-on approach? Schedule a one-to-one walkthrough with a senior trader. See our software in action and get those questions answered. and take control of your trading journey.